Be me. Feminon. 24. Masters in Gender Studies. Professional victimhood consultant. Unemployed. My entire worldview is shaped by professors who look like they smell of patchouli and unmet expectations. The patriarchy isn't just a concept, it's the air we breathe, the ground we walk on. The reason my latte is sometimes lukewarm. I'm a warrior for women's rights, a keyboard crusader against mansplaining, and I have a Tumblr blog that gets dozens of likes. My pronouns are in my bio. I unironically use the term problematic, and I believe all men are, on some level, complicit in a system of oppression. It's not their fault, of course. They're just socialized into it. But it's their responsibility to dismantle it. By agreeing with me. Always. Then there's my brother, Chad Light. He's 26, not a real Chad, more like a decent-looking guy who showers daily and has a job. He's an engineer, builds bridges or something, literally upholding patriarchal structures. I've told him this. He just laughs. He's a simple creature. Wants a house, a dog, maybe a wife, and 2.5 kids. The whole picket fence prison. I've tried to educate him, sent him articles, book recommendations, even made a PowerPoint presentation once on the heteronormative trap. He just nods, smiles, and says, "That's nice, sis. Did you see the game last night?" To me, he's a willing cog in the machine, a happy little drone buzzing his way toward his own subjugation. He dates. Lord, does he date. But he's always looking for the one. I tell him this concept is a romanticized shackle designed to chain women to domestic servitude. He says, "I just want someone to share my life with." It's like talking to a golden retriever, a sweet, hopelessly ignorant golden retriever who thinks the patriarchy is a brand of dog food. Enter Stacy. From my perspective, she was a walking, talking Trojan horse of patriarchal ideals. She was blonde, conventionally attractive, and worked in marketing. She laughed at my brother's dumb jokes. She baked him cookies. She wore sundresses. The first time I met her, she asked me what I did. I launched into my well-rehearsed spiel about deconstructing systemic oppression and analyzing the intersectionality of marginalized identities. She just smiled sweetly and said, "Oh, that's interesting. I just help sell soap." My brother beamed at her like she'd just solved world hunger. I saw right through it. The cool girl act, the feigned simplicity. It was a performance. She was playing a role, the role of the perfect, non-threatening partner to secure resources and social standing. It was textbook. I pulled my brother aside after that first meeting. "You see what she's doing, right?" I whispered, as if sharing a state secret. "Yeah," he said dreamily. "She's amazing." "No, you idiot." "She's performing femininity. It's a strategy. She's conforming to patriarchal expectations to make herself desirable." He blinked. "You mean she's being nice?" "It's more complicated than that. It's about the subtle reinforcement of gender roles that ultimately harms both men and women. She made us lasagna," he said, as if this was a checkmate. And for him, it was. His entire defense was that she was kind, thoughtful, and made him happy. He couldn't see the matrix. He was so deeply blue-pilled, he was practically a smurf. I told him to be careful. Women like that, they seem perfect on the outside, but it's a trap. She's weaving a web. He just patted me on the head. "You think too much, sis. Just be happy for me." I wasn't happy for him. I was terrified. He was a lamb being led to a slaughter of domesticity and eventual, inevitable resentment. I decided to watch, to observe. I would be the detached academic, documenting the predictable implosion of their gender-conforming nightmare. I had no idea I was about to get a front-row seat to an entirely different kind of show, and that it would shatter everything I thought I knew. Be my brother, Chad Light. 6 months into the relationship. He's head over heels, blissfully, stupidly in love. Stacy has moved in. Her pink throw pillows and scented candles have infested his formerly Spartan apartment. He used to have a poster of a McLaren F1 on his wall. It's been replaced by a framed piece of driftwood with the word "Live" painted on it. He doesn't seem to mind. He calls it our place. I call it a colonization of his identity. My bi-weekly educational dinners with them become a masterclass in what my professors called emotional labor. She plans the meals, remembers his mother's birthday, organizes his social calendar. He, in turn, works his ass off. He's pulling extra hours, aiming for a promotion. "For us," he says. "Stacy wants to start looking at houses soon." I corner him in the kitchen while he's grabbing another beer. "Don't you see the dynamic here? She's performing the role of domestic manager, which frees you up to be the provider. It's a classic patriarchal script. Or, he says, she's good at organizing things, and I'm good at my job. So we're playing to our strengths. It's called a partnership." He was so naive. He thought it was a partnership. I saw it as an unwritten contract with clauses he hadn't even read. The first crack appears, but only I seem to notice it. his weekly game night with his friends. It's been a sacred ritual since college. Dungeons and Dragons, or some other nerd shit. It was his one real outlet. 1 week, he cancels. Stacy's not feeling well, gonna stay in and watch a movie with her. The next week, Stacy's friend is having a crisis. We're going over to support her. The week after, Stacy feels like I'm not prioritizing our relationship when I run off with my friends. His friends call me, concerned. Is Chadlight okay? We haven't seen him in a month. I confront him. You're letting her isolate you from your support system. This is a classic tactic of control. He gets defensive. She's not controlling me. I'm choosing to spend time with her. My priorities have changed. I'm growing up. Growing up or being pruned? I snap back. He doesn't have an answer. He just looks tired. Then comes the money. Chadlight has always been frugal. Saves his money, invests, drives a boring but reliable car. Stacy, however, has expensive tastes. A new couch because the old one doesn't match the aesthetic. Weekend getaways to boutique hotels. A new wardrobe for him because his old clothes are boyish. He's paying for all of it. We're a team, he explains, but his bank account is a solo act. Does she contribute? I ask, trying to sound casual. Of course. She pays for, groceries and stuff sometimes. Her job doesn't pay as much as mine. It's only fair I cover the big things. It was the provider trap, and he'd walked right into it with a stupid grin on his face. He was working 60-hour weeks. The light in his eyes was starting to dim. The easygoing laugh was becoming rare. He's stressed, constantly checking his phone, anxious to make sure Stacy is happy. Because when Stacy isn't happy, no one is happy. The arguments start. I only hear his side of them in late-night phone calls. They are never about anything real. They are about his tone, or the way he looked at her, or something he should have known she was thinking. He is always apologizing, always trying to fix it. I don't know what I did wrong, he'd tell me, his voice strained with exhaustion. I try so hard, but it's never enough. I wanted to be smug. I wanted to say, I told you so. This is the inherent toxicity of the male-female dynamic in a patriarchal society. But hearing the genuine pain in his voice, seeing my once happy-go-lucky brother sound so broken, it didn't feel like a victory. It felt like watching a car crash in slow motion. He was sacrificing everything that made him him on the altar of their relationship. His friends, his hobbies, his financial security, his peace of mind. And for what? For a woman who seemed to have an unfillable void where her happiness should be. This wasn't the patriarchy oppressing a woman. This looked different. It looked like my brother was the one being ground into dust. My academic theories provided no comfort, only a cold, clinical diagnosis that didn't match the messy, painful reality. I told myself to just keep watching. The truth of the situation, the real power dynamic, would surely reveal itself soon. The downward spiral accelerates. It's no longer a slow descent, it's a free fall. Chadlight gets the promotion. It comes with a big raise. For a single day, he's ecstatic. He calls me, bubbling with excitement. We can finally get a house, sis. I can give Stacy the life she deserves. That phrase sends a chill down my spine. The life she deserves. Not the life we want to build together. The life she deserves. He is already framing himself as the sole architect and financier of her happiness. The celebration is short-lived. The raise isn't enough. The houses she wants are just outside the new budget. But they're in the good school district, she argues, according to his miserable retelling. They don't have kids. They aren't even engaged. It's about planning for the future, she says. Don't you want the best for our future children? It's a brilliant rhetorical move. How can he argue against the well-being of his hypothetical offspring? He starts looking for a second job, some freelance consulting work on the weekends, the same weekends he used to reserve for recharging, for the rare chance to see his old friends. Those are gone now. Every waking hour is dedicated to the grind. He looks like a ghost, dark circles under his eyes, a permanent furrow in his brow. He's lost weight. He's a machine for generating income, and the machine is breaking down. Then comes the incident with the car, his boring, reliable Toyota. He loves that car. He paid it off years ago, maintains it himself. It's his one piece of practical, debt-free pride. Stacy hates it. It's embarrassing. One evening, they're driving to meet her parents at a fancy restaurant. She starts in on him. How can they pull up to a place like this in a jalopy? What will her father think? My brother, stretched to his absolute limit, finally snaps. Not yelling, not screaming. He just says calmly, "It's a good car, Stacy. It's paid for. I'm not buying a new one right now." This, apparently, is the nuclear option. She starts crying. Not quiet tears, full-blown, gasping sobs. Says he doesn't care about her feelings. That he's deliberately trying to humiliate her. That he's selfish. He spends the entire dinner apologizing, begging for forgiveness. 2 weeks later, he's at a dealership. He trades in his Toyota for a ridiculously expensive SUV. He puts almost nothing down. The monthly payments are astronomical. It has heated seats, he tells me, his voice devoid of any emotion. Stacy likes those. He is now a man drowning in debt, working 2 jobs with no friends and no hobbies. He is a hollowed-out version of his former self, a servant to someone else's desires. I try one last time to use my gender studies toolkit. This is emotional abuse, Chad Light. You need to leave. No, he says, his voice flat. This is what it takes. Relationships are hard work. You have to compromise. This isn't compromise. This is capitulation. You've given up everything. I love her, he says. It sounds less like a declaration and more like a diagnosis. A terminal illness he has resigned himself to. My smug academic detachment is gone. I'm not watching a sociological case study anymore. I'm watching my brother, the guy who taught me how to ride a bike, the guy who always let me win at Mario Kart, being systematically dismantled. My theories said that men hold the power, that the system is built for them. But Chad Light has no power. He is trapped by his own desire to be a good man, his desire to provide, to protect, to make his partner happy. All the traits the so-called patriarchy champions are the very things being used as weapons against him. Stacy holds all the cards. Her happiness is the currency, and my brother is bankrupt. I see it clearly now. She isn't a victim of the system. She has mastered it. She wields her emotions like a weapon, her dissatisfaction like a shield. She offers the promise of affection and withdraws it as punishment. It's the most effective form of control I have ever seen. And there are no books in my university library that have a name for this. No theory that explains a man being emotionally and financially bled dry by a woman, all while society, and even he himself, calls it love. The crash is coming. I know it is. And it's going to be even worse than I imagined. The breakup is as swift and brutal as an amputation without anesthesia. It doesn't happen after a big fight. There is no dramatic climax. It happens on a Tuesday. My brother comes home from his second job, bone-weary and smelling of stale office coffee, to find her bags packed. There's no explanation. No, we need to talk. Just a cold, simple statement. I'm not happy. He begs. He pleads. He asks what he can do, what he can change, what he can buy, how many more hours he can work. He's trying to solve an emotional problem with a logistical solution, like an engineer trying to fix a painting by reinforcing the frame. Her response is chilling. It's not one thing, Chad Light. It's everything. I've outgrown you. She leaves, gets in an Uber, and is gone. He calls me, and his voice is a sound I will never forget. It's the sound of a building collapsing. The next few weeks are a blur of frantic, desperate activity. He tries calling her. She blocks his number. He tries emailing her. He gets a one-line response. Please respect my decision. He finds out through a mutual acquaintance that she's already on a trip to Bali with a guy from her office. The pictures appear on Instagram a week later. Stacy in a bikini, laughing on a beach, her arm around a guy with a man bun and a trust fund. The caption, finally finding my bliss, #unbothered, #self-love, #new beginnings. The destruction isn't just emotional. It's a scorched earth campaign. The apartment they shared. He's on the lease. She isn't. But she demands half the security deposit back. He gives it to her, just to make her go away. The new SUV. It's in his name. The crippling payments are his alone. The credit card, the one with the joint account for household expenses, is maxed out. A shopping spree from the week before she left, all on his shoulders. But that's just the money. The social demolition is far more insidious. The story she tells mutual friends is a masterpiece of narrative warfare. He wasn't supportive. He was controlling. His exhaustion from working 2 jobs wasn't a sacrifice. It was neglect. He was emotionally distant. His concern about their finances wasn't prudence. It was him trying to financially control her. She whispers just enough, plants just enough seeds of doubt. People he thought were his friends suddenly go quiet. Invitations stop coming. He is a social pariah, branded with a vague but damning reputation as a bad boyfriend. No one asks for his side. Why would they? The script is already written. Man bad, woman victim. The final, devastating blow comes in a registered letter. It's from a lawyer. During their relationship, he had a great idea for a new engineering software. He'd been developing it in his spare time, the 5 minutes a week he had. He'd told Stacy about it, in detail. He was excited. He thought she was, too. The letter is a cease and desist. She has filed a preliminary patent for a concept that is, word for word, his idea. She claims they developed it together, and that he is now trying to cut her out of her intellectual property. It's a lie, a complete and utter fabrication. She doesn't know the first thing about engineering, but it doesn't matter. The legal battle would cost him tens of thousands of dollars he doesn't have. It would be his word against hers. And in the current climate, Who are they going to believe? The successful, independent woman or the controlling, emotionally distant ex-boyfriend? He has to abandon his project, his one dream, the thing that might have made all the sacrifice worthwhile. Gone. I find him sitting in his half-empty apartment, staring at that letter. He's not crying, he's just empty. A shell. He looks up at me, and for the first time, there is no hope in his eyes, just a quiet, horrifying clarity. She took everything, he says, his voice a dry rasp. Everything I had, everything I was, and everything I was going to be. It wasn't enough. In that moment, every book I ever read, every lecture I ever attended, every theory I ever espoused, turned to ash in my mouth. The patriarchy hadn't done this to him. The system hadn't failed him. He had played by all the rules of being a good man. He provided, he sacrificed, he compromised, he put her first. And his reward was to be gutted, stripped for parts, and left for dead on the side of the road, while his destroyer posted vacation photos online. This wasn't a breakup, it was a bankruptcy of the soul. And I, the feminist academic, had done nothing but watch and analyze, armed with theories that were as useless as a waterproof teabag. I had diagnosed the wrong disease, and now my brother was the casualty. The aftermath is a silent, grey fog. My brother doesn't rage. He doesn't seek revenge. He just shuts down. He moves out of the apartment he can no longer afford and into my tiny spare room. For the first month, he barely speaks. He goes to his one remaining job, comes home, and sleeps. He looks like a prisoner of war. The light, the humour, the easygoing charm, it's all gone, replaced by a permanent, haunted stillness. My friends, my feminist circle, hear that my brother has moved in after a bad breakup. They are full of advice. For me, you need to set boundaries. Don't let him dump his male emotional baggage on you. Make sure he's doing his share of the chores. Don't fall into the trap of performing caretaking labour for a man. Has he considered that his own toxic masculinity contributed to the relationship's failure? I listen to them and I feel a profound and nauseating disconnect. It's like they're speaking a foreign language. They're applying a pre-written diagnosis to a patient they've never met. Toxic masculinity. My brother's problem wasn't a lack of emotion, it was an excess of devotion. His toxicity was his bottomless willingness to sacrifice himself. I try to explain. You don't understand. She ruined him. She took his money, his friends, his future. They exchanged knowing glances. There are always two sides to every story, one says sagely. We're just getting his. It hits me like a physical blow. They don't believe him. By default. In their world, there is an oppressor and an oppressed. Man and woman. The roles are pre-assigned. My brother's story, his reality, is inadmissible evidence. It doesn't fit the narrative. To them, he must have done something to deserve this. He must have been the real villain. Stacey is just a woman who found her strength and left a toxic situation. Her Instagram proves it. This is my awakening. Not a gentle dawn, but a brutal, blinding flash. My entire belief system, the intricate cathedral of theory I had built in my mind, is a sham. It's a one-way mirror. It only looks for female victimhood and male culpability. It has no framework for the reverse. It can diagnose the sunburn, but it's blind to the frostbite. I see the world with new eyes. I see the casual misandry, laughed off as jokes, in TV shows and conversations. I see the immediate assumption of female innocence and male guilt in any public dispute. I see the crushing weight of expectation placed on men. Be strong, but be vulnerable. Be a provider, but don't be controlling. Be confident, but not arrogant. A tightrope walk over a canyon of condemnation. I see that while women have been building support networks, escape routes, and a whole vocabulary of empowerment for decades, men have been told to man up and suffer in silence. Their pain is invisible, dismissed as weakness, or worse, entitlement. My brother is the living embodiment of this. He did everything he was told a good man should do, and the system I thought was rigged for him chewed him up and spat him out. The legal system, the social court of public opinion, the very language of modern relationships, it all failed him. Or rather, it worked exactly as designed, just not for his benefit. He wasn't a beneficiary of the patriarchy. He was its fuel. He was the disposable male, the workhorse whose only value was in what he could provide to others. When he was tapped out, he was discarded. I stopped talking to my old friends. I delete my Tumblr. My days are no longer spent deconstructing film tropes. They are spent trying to reconstruct my brother. I don't offer advice. I don't analyze. I just sit with him. I make him dinner. I watch silent movies with him. I am, for the first time in my life, performing caretaking labor. And it doesn't feel like oppression. It feels like penance. Slowly, glacially, he starts to come back to life. It starts with a flicker. A small smile at a dumb joke I make. A brief comment about the weather. The shell is still there, but there's someone home again. This isn't a red pill moment. That sounds too easy, too clean. This is an ideological autopsy. And the corpse on the table is my brother's former life. And my own naivete. Years pass. 4 of them. The recovery is not a straight line. It's a jagged, painful climb out of a deep pit. Chadlight moves out of my apartment and gets his own small place. He doesn't date. Not once. The mere suggestion of it makes him flinch, like a phantom limb pain. His life becomes a fortress of solitude, but it's not a prison. It's a sanctuary. He gets back into his hobbies. He buys a new set of D&D manuals. He reconnects with the 2 old friends who never believed Stacy's stories. Their weekly game night resumes, held with the quiet reverence of a religious service. He buries himself in his work, not with the desperate anxiety of a provider, but with the focused passion of a craftsman. He starts a new project, a small one, something just for him. He tells no one about it. He works on it late at night, a secret act of creation. He buys another car, a slightly used, ridiculously practical Honda Civic. He pays in cash. He calls it his Monk Mobile. He is rebuilding his life, but the blueprint is completely different. Before Stacy, his life was a 2-person project designed for a future partnership. Everything was built with we in mind. Now, his life is a solo exhibition. Everything is built for me. His finances are his own. His time is his own. His peace is his own. He is not beholden to anyone's emotional state but his. He is calm. He is stable. He is, in a quiet and profound way, happy. He is also completely, irrevocably alone. And he has chosen this. One evening, we're having our weekly dinner. He seems more relaxed than I've seen him in years. He's telling me about a breakthrough he had on his secret project. His eyes are bright. The old Chadlight is in there. On a whim, I decide to test the waters. You know, I say, as gently as I can, she wasn't all women. There are good ones out there. He stops eating. He doesn't get angry or sad. He just looks at me with that same unnerving clarity he had the day he got the lawyer's letter. Let's do a cost-benefit analysis, he says, the engineer in him switching on. Best case scenario? I find a good woman. We build a life together. I share my income, my time, my space. I take on the responsibility of her happiness and well-being. My life is no longer entirely my own, but I'm not miserable. I have a companion. It's a net neutral, maybe a slight positive. He takes a sip of water. Worst case scenario? He continues, his voice flat. I end up with another Stacy. I lose half my assets, my reputation, my friends, my mental health, and maybe even my freedom if she decides to make a false accusation. The downside risk is total, catastrophic annihilation. He looks me dead in the eye. So, I have a choice between a slight potential upside and a limitless potential downside. As an engineer, I can tell you that is a terrible, terrible equation. It's a bad investment. The risk is not worth the reward. He picks up his fork and takes a bite of chicken. I'm not angry, he says, chewing thoughtfully. I'm not hateful. I'm just opting out. I'm taking my chips off the table. I'm going my own way. And in that moment, I finally, truly understand. All those articles I'd read about the manosphere, MGTOW, men going solo, I had always dismissed it as a pathetic, misogynistic movement of angry incels who couldn't get laid. I saw it as a political statement of hate, but I was wrong. For my brother, and for who knows how many men like him, it's not a political statement. It's a practical solution. It's a risk management strategy. It's a logical response to a system that offers them immense liability with limited reward. He wasn't choosing to be alone out of hatred for women. He was choosing to protect himself, his peace, and his own damn life. It was an act not of aggression, but of profound self-preservation. He had been burned so badly that he'd decided to simply stop playing with fire. He's not a victim anymore. He's not a cog in the machine. He's just a man who looked at the game, realized the rules were rigged, and had the courage to just walk off the field. My brother's life wasn't destroyed, it was detonated. And from the rubble, he rebuilt something smaller, quieter, and infinitely more stable. A life for one. I no longer have a master's in gender studies. In my heart, that degree is null and void. My real education came from watching my brother's destruction and his subsequent solitary resurrection. And the final thesis is simple. You can't blame a man for refusing to play a game he's seen so many others lose.